welcome everyone. Today's session, we're going to run it till 12 and we're going to be focusing on how to develop visually impactful reports and presentations using Adobe Express. So happy Friday, first of all. These sessions are designed for professional services colleagues, and what we're hoping to do is deliver each of these once a month, generally on a Friday at 11 AM. So hopefully this time is a good time for everyone. These sessions are really to explore best practices and provide training on how you can best leverage Adobe tools to enhance your own knowledge and contribute to your role as well. So just going to pop into the, obviously registered for this session, so you've probably already seen our registration page, but just so that you've got it for future, and feel free to pass it on to your colleagues. This is our registration page for the other sessions that we will be hosting towards the end of the year. And if you, on there, you'll find our YouTube channel. So this session and the one we done last month is on that channel. So you can refer back to the recording. And also as well, if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, there's also a feedback link as well. So if there's topics that you would like to have for 2026, can't believe I'm saying that already, please fill in the feedback form. We'd love to sort of get some feedback about what you would like to see. So as I said, today we're going to be looking at how we can build visually impactful presentations. We're also going to be looking at how we can not only leverage Adobe Express, but leverage Adobe Stock, and how we can use Adobe Stock to find templates, as well as use Express to find templates as well. Now, as professional services colleagues, you not only have access to Adobe Express, but you have access to Adobe Stock as well as some of our professional tools such as InDesign, Illustrator. Today we're going to focus on just Express and Stock. I will talk a little bit about InDesign and how you can use it, but I'm not going to do a deep dive. Again, if that's something that you would like to see in a future session, then please fill in the feedback form at the end of our registration site, and we can certainly look to do that in 2026. So I'd love for everyone to just follow along, actually, just so that we're getting full benefit from the session today. So I'll just, again, put into the chat the link for Adobe Express. That's where we're going to spend some of our time first this morning, and then we'll, as I said, we'll cover Adobe Stock a wee bit later on. So, you know, as we think about why it's important to have visually appealing content out there, we all know and we all probably hear about attention spans and how they're shrinking. And information overload today is just the norm. We're fed with so much information and so much data all of the time. And sometimes the way that we communicate that data, it can make or break the message that we're trying to deliver. So traditional reports are often packed with valuable insights, but sometimes it's just a little bit too dense or complex to get to it. And often it's risk being ignored. And that's why evidence shows that articles with images and visuals get roughly 94% more views than articles without. So it's really worth thinking about how can we take that data and put it into a visual to visually represent that. And adding more relevant images also boosts the retention significantly. And again, evidence says that 40% of people respond better to visual information over plain text. So it's worth us spending a little bit of time to do that. Now, how many of us have seen a slide like this in our life? In our enterprise working life? Title slide, white background, bullets, often more bullets. And actually, you know, just by making slight design changes to same information, you can make it a little bit more visually appealing. Now, I've done basically nothing to the slide apart from adding a couple of designs, so they're just boxes and lines, added in a person, so it gives it a little bit more of that personal feel. And obviously this title slide is company overview, so really we want to make sure that people feel connection with that. And again, you've just completely changed the slide. So it doesn't take a lot to make something visually more appealing. I understand that I might be telling people on this call something that they already know, and you might be already fully experienced in this, and you're here to just see the tools. But it's important that we think about how we really make those design changes to make it more visually appealing. Now, as I said, today we're going to be focusing on Adobe Express templates, and we'll also look at Adobe stock templates and how we can take them and bring them in to edit them. As I mentioned, I'd love for you to follow along, so please go into Adobe Express, sign in with your university email address, and that'll give you premium access, and that'll also get you into Adobe Stock as well. And Adobe Stock access, most of you will have unlimited access to Adobe images as well and the templates on there. So let's dive into the product then. And as I said, please follow along. I'd love for you to do that. I've just come out of that slide, so you might be able to see that I was actually presenting that through Express. So that's another thing just to be mindful of. You can build presentations inside Adobe Express, and you can then present from Adobe Express. So I'll talk through how to do all of that, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Let's start with the home page, because I'm aware that this is, might look slightly different for you depending on your setup, but most of it should be the same. Again, I don't want to spend too much in sort of orientation, but I will just cover it very briefly. I'm going to just also, if it's not too much too distracting, I've just made my cursor a little bit bigger so that you can see it. If it starts to drive you crazy, then please let me know in the chat, and my colleague Catherine will tell me to put it back down and make it small again. But just to sort of show you Adobe Express, we've got standard options down here on the left-hand side. We can hit the big blue plus, and that will take us into create any content that we want. And then we've got other options down here. We can go into our stuff, so that will save all of our files, any brands that we've created. We did a session on this last month, so check out that recording on the YouTube channel. Templates, we're going to cover that in a moment, and then some other information here. We can also type here to search for a template that we want to have. You'll see that I've sort of been searching before. You can also come here and browse templates as well. So two places in which you can find templates. We can either use the tile option here, or we can click on the templates option here. So to take us into templates for presentations, you can click on the templates option here, and that will just open up a new window for us showing all of our templates. Now, I've already pre-done this, so I'm just going to uncheck this. When you come into the Explore option, you'll see lots of different templates here, popular templates, different layouts, seasonal moments, etc. To drill it down, you've got this really handy filter option here where you can start to determine and filter how you would like to search these particular templates. Now, price doesn't matter to us on the call. We all have premium access to Adobe Express, so you never have to worry about that. You'll see that it's a premium template by this crown, but you have access to that, so it's nothing to worry about. You've got options for size, type, style, mood. Of course, you can use all of that. My region is always selected, so I've always got UK, I've always got global. If you're working, you want to have a few other options, and of course, you can click on a different region. But what I want us to click on is the output, and this will just drill down and we'll search for templates that are presentations. So I'm just going to click on where it says output. Now I can click more and more and more and more, and you'll see it's in alphabetical order. Or I can just use this search box and just type in presentations, and then it will bring that up, and I can just click that checkbox. So just type in presentations for the output, and then I'll be able to see all of the presentation options here. Now, you can see it's brought back almost 2,000 results. So there's a lot of templates to choose from here. Of course, if you wanted, as I mentioned, to start to drill down on the style type you would like, or the mood that you're trying to convey, of course you can do that. Or you can just scroll through and see which you would like. You can also start to be a little bit more prescriptive in what you'd like to see. So you'll see that the search option here is now changed to search template. So I can search here if I wanted to find a presentation for a specific topic, maybe onboarding or creative project, then I can start to drill that down here. Now you'll see in the search results, I've just left my cursor on this particular one. You can see it says 1 of 10 in the top left corner. If you leave your cursor on there, what happens is Express will automatically just scroll through those pages so you can get a little bit of a sense of what those are. Now, if you click onto that, that will also open up a separate dialog box for you to then see all of these different slides. So you can then make a decision and say, well, this is generally the type of layout that I want. I'm going to go with this one. It then also gives you sort of more options like this. So you'll be able to then start to click on other options and sort of take you through some of those templates that you'd like to see. Now, you'll see that there is an option for you to then like it. So if you like that and favorite it, it will start to then bring that up as one of your favorite options. There's also a link here as well, so you can copy that link. So let's say, for example, you were looking through, you found one, but you want to come back and edit it later. You can just copy that link and it will take you directly into that particular template. So once we've decided which template that we want and which one we'd like to use, all that we have to do then is click this Customize Template button. And what that will do is that will open up your own version of that template. So it doesn't open up the template that you have or the template that's there. You get your own version. So when you start to make those edits and make those changes, that's on your template, it's your file, and the previous one will stay intact. It will still be searchable, but then it opens up your version of the template. So I'm going to now go in and earlier today, I actually just copied the link to a particular template that I liked. So what I'll do is I'll just place this into the chat. So if you wanted to use the same template as me and follow along, then we can all use the same one. So if you click onto that, you'll be able to come into this template with me here. So this was just one that I pulled out. I liked the placement of some of the text, and I like this kind of blue swirl graphic on the side. So just while everyone's sort of coming in there, again, I think most of us on the call will already know this, but I think it just makes it's good to sort of remind ourselves as we're building out content and building out a presentation. You know, some of the key things that we need to be reminded of is we need to focus on our content. So it's easy to sort of get bogged down in trying to choose what the look and feel needs to be like. Often what I do when I'm asked to create a presentation or create anything, I focus on the key message that I'm trying to convey. So what is it that I'm trying to get across? And I often sketch that out. I'm old school, paper and pen, or do it on a OneNote or do it on a document. And then you can organise it logically for how you would like to present that information, keeping it concise, to the point, thinking about the story that you want to tell. Again, if you're presenting data, how are you going to present that data? What's the story behind that data that you're trying to present? Whether that's with graphs and pie charts or whether that's with imagery. And the main thing to remember about our imagery is making sure that we've got high quality visuals. So this is another, real benefit to using Express in stock. There is nothing worse, and again, maybe we've all been through this, and we've watched a presentation and somebody's images are really pixelated when they present it, or they've got like a watermark over it. It can be really off-putting. So just making sure that we, use high quality visuals is really, really important. And you have access to that from Adobe Express directly, and I'll show you where that is. So everyone should be in here if you aren't already, and then you can just at the very top, so if you just move your cursor around the screen, you'll see that these kind of options come up again. In the very top right, again, my big yellow cursor here, you'll see the word remix. And that's what you're looking to do. You're looking to remix this. And if you click on that, what happens is that then opens it up as your document. And the great thing that I love about Express is it saves automatically. Again, if anyone's been in the corporate world for a long time and maybe done a presentation on PowerPoint or other documents and forgot to hit save as you're going through it, and then for whatever reason your computer's crashed, or maybe you've gone, had lunch, come back and come out of it and said, don't save. Oh my goodness, and you've lost hours worth of work. That's happened to me a few times in my life. And it's not a good feeling. So the good thing with Adobe Express, you never have to worry about that. Everything you do automatically saves, so you never have to worry about clicking save anywhere. It just does it automatically in the back end. Okay, so we're in Express. So what's happened here is if I click on any of these elements, you'll see that what happens down the left-hand side here is I then get a dialog box that opens up that gives me options to then make edits to those particular elements. So this is a text file, so it's text, and I can come in here, change the file font. I can change the size, the color, how I want it to flow, the position of it. I click on this one here. This is an image, and I know this is an image because it says it here. And again, then it opens up different image options for me here as well. If I just keep going through, you'll see, this one here is an icon. So it's giving me this, and again, I can come in and change the color of the icon and animate it and do whatever I want to do. Again, here, clicking on it, this is an image, and I can come in here and start to make changes. Now, if I wanted to add something new onto the presentation, I can do that as well. So I'm just going to come to slide 4. And down the left-hand side here, you can see these are all the new options for us. So this dialog panel allows us to make edits to what's already there. And then this panel here allows us to add new things in. So let's say, for example, we wanted to add a picture. We can then click the media option. And then that will allow us to add any type of media to the particular presentation. So whether that be a photo, a video, or an audio file that I wanted to do. So if I just click on the photos, because obviously we're here about visual representation, what happens in Adobe Express is it gives us access to all of these imageries here, and I can just search photos. And what it's searching is the Adobe stock library. And the key thing here is these are royalty-free assets for you to use. So these are licensed assets. They automatically license when you use them. So you are allowed to use them on your public-facing website and documents. You can use them in prospectus documents, financial statements. You're fully licensed to do so. And what I'll do is I'll just pop into the chat for anyone who's interested in it. I know that I've been asked questions about this before. This is just the stock licensing terms as well, if you want to sort of read through that, but you are fully licensed to use this content here, and you can then just search. Now, it gives me some options, and I can click here, and again, if I just click on this, it will just automatically put that image onto my deck, and then I can scale it and move it and do whatever I want to do with it. But let's say, for example, it's not actually finding the image that I want. We then also have our generative AI tool here as well, our generate image. So we can come here, we can click on the size, and then we can write in a prompt that we want. Excuse me. So again, you've got full access to Adobe Stock, royalty images if you want to search through there, but you also have access to the generative AI, and this is powered by Adobe Firefly in the back end. Now, the key thing to remember here, again, as you create content and create visuals for your presentations, especially with our Gen AI tools, is that we never train our tools, our AI tools, on your content. We only train it on content we have permission to do so and the right to do so. We also don't mine the content from the internet. We also compensate our creators who contribute to Adobe Stock for the use of their content to build any of the imagery. And key here is we don't claim ownership of your content. So if you create something here, we don't claim ownership of it. The ownership belongs to you. So it's just something to be mindful of. That's one of the benefits of using the Adobe AI tools is we are committed to thoughtful, responsible development of all of our AI tools. So you can come in here and you can type in a prompt for whatever you want to demonstrate. So maybe we wanted to build, a university building with abstract trees in a futuristic setting. Who knows what this is going to bring up, but we shall see. There is an option here, you can input some reference images. So you just click on the plus sign and add an image if you wanted to reference it and have something similar. And then there's obviously different options here to stylize, but I'm just going to leave it as it is. Click generate, and it will then go and create my image. So again, the main things we need to be mindful of if we're creating content and imagery is, and creating presentations. Oh, that's quite cool. I like that one. Well, that one's nice. We'll keep that one. It looks a little bit mushroom trees, but we'll keep that like that. The main thing to remember is to sort of be consistent with our designs. So use a color scheme. So again, I chose this one because it was that kind of, there's more blues in there, so it's more consistent with our color scheme in the background. Use a similar design across all of our slides. Again, this is more of an illustration. Of course, we sometimes have in the slide here, we've got some photos, real photos. So again, our recommendation is really just to keep that consistent. I wouldn't actually have these two pictures on the same slide unless I'm trying to, show real pictures with something else if it was part of the story. If not, if it was just imagery to enhance the look and feel, I'd be consistent with that, whether it was a graphic or whether it was a picture. Again, some of the things to be mindful of is to use the white space that we have. So keep it uncluttered. So again, I wouldn't add lots of text here. I'd maybe just add a few pieces of text if this is a presentation, and then focus on what my audio was and what I would be speaking and how what's on the slide could enhance what I'm saying. The other thing to be mindful of is just consider accessibility. So again, where possible, try to use colours that are less conflicting with each other. So a green and a red together can often not be the right type of colours to put together. And again, if we're given the presentation afterwards, like when we PDF the presentation, what we can do is add alt text to the images afterwards to make them accessible. And there's also a way when you export it as a PDF, you can add tags onto that as well through Express. So just to be mindful of that. So again, hopefully you've as we've been chatting here, you've made some changes to this presentation. And you've updated it. As I said, when we come in, there's lots of options. You can select any of these sections and then come in and edit them, delete them, take them away, do whatever you want to do. So I'm just going to go to the very last slide here. And what I wanted to show you is that you can also then bring in more templated slides if you want to do that at this stage. So again, you've got this template option on the left-hand side. So you can just click on there and you'll see if I scroll down, I've got more templates here. So again, if you wanted to continue to build out your deck, but you don't want to build it from scratch or a blank piece, a blank slide, there are other ways that you can bring in more templates. So again, we can just click on them, and you'll see that you can then add these as a page, or you can start a new file. So adding these as a page will just add to your existing presentation. So it's just to show you that, of course, you can come and change the particular template that you have, because now the document belongs to you and you can build up the different aspects. But you can also add in more templated slides just by adding pages. Again, my only advice would be make sure that you change the colour and change the font and there's consistency there. But if you wanted to go and find a template that's a bit more, it's going to give you something that you want on the slide, you can do that as well. And again, there's ways you can search here as well. If you wanted to search for an infographic because you wanted to add that as a slide, but you didn't have it in the original template that you have, again, you can just type in infographic and start to search through different options here. And you'll see it gives me lots of different options. So again, maybe I think, actually, I want something like this, where it's got lots of the circles and I want to add a bit of an org chart to it. Again, you just select that, click add as a page, and then that will just add that page there. And you'll see it's just added as a page. And then I can come in and start to edit it and create and build out how I want the content to look. I'm just going to pause and just check to see if we've got any questions.
No questions at the moment.
Okay, awesome. I will keep going then. Please, if you do have questions, just place them into the chat. If you want to come off mute and ask a question, more than happy to do that. We've got a small enough group here. So just again, raise your hand and myself or Catherine can take you off mute. But we will continue on. So let's say, for example, we've built all of our slides now. So we've done all of this. As I mentioned earlier, we don't have to, at this point, take out of Express to be able to present it. We can present from within Express. So all of our presentation options are built into Express. And what we can do here is I'm going to close this dialog box just to not have any distracting information here. So down the bottom here, you can see we've got our slides here. And then to the left, we've got this option where it says page transitions. And then underneath that, we've got presenter notes. So page transitions is just that. We can add in some transitions to the page. So when it comes from one page to the other, we can do that. We can apply just one, or we can apply to all pages. So I'll just click apply to all pages. And that will then add those transitions in. We then have, again, I'm right at the bottom here. Hopefully you can still see my big yellow cursor. We can also add in presenter notes. So if I go back to slide 1, if I click on there, we can add in our presenter notes here as well. So we can, opening slide, say X, Y, or Z. So all of our slide notes can be there. We can make this a little bit bigger, so it's a bit larger for us to see if we're presenting, or if you're like me and need glasses to be able to see it. And again, just X out of there will take you back to this. The other thing, again, I want to show you, and hopefully you can still see the yellow cursor, is this is the option here where you can present. So I was talking about downloading. This is the download button, so you can download it out if you want to. But you can equally, as I mentioned, just present from here. So if I click on the down arrow, you can either present from the first page, or you can go into presenter mode, which will allow me to see the presentation, and on a separate screen, I can see my notes. So just the same way as you would present on any other type of technology. You can then option here to do content playback. So if you set up any animations on any of the elements, you can decide whether you want that to autoplay or whether you want that to play on the click. So full access and full options for presenting is available there as well. Now, the other thing you can do is, if you're building this with a colleague, is you can share. Now, a couple of options in share, and I'll just kind of go through them with you. You can just add in an email address of a colleague, and then you can select whether they want to edit it or whether you want them to just comment on it. So again, if you're building something out and you want to share it with a colleague for feedback, you can do that. So if I just type in Catherine's name here, you'll see Catherine comes up, and I can select whether I would like Catherine to edit it or comment, and I can give her a little message, and then it will invite Catherine to edit. The other option I can do is, you'll see if I say who has access, I can open it up to everyone in my org. And because I'm part of the Adobe organization, it says everybody at Adobe, but that'll say everybody at your particular institute. Or you can open it up for anyone with the link. So that's just a few different ways in which you can manage the sharing options. Now, what I done for everyone today is I made this a shareable open template. So that's something that you can do as well. So by clicking the view only link and then selecting where it says allow others to remix, that will then allow, if I stick create link, that then makes this into a template that you can then share with others. So let's say, for example, you wanted to create a standard template that you wanted the rest of the team to adapt and change for whatever reason. You could create that as a template and then send the link out to colleagues. And then they'll be, essentially what we've done here today is they'll remix their own version of that particular presentation. So just a few ways in which you might want to share or use your content. Again, the one other thing as well is you can make it a template and then save it into your particular drive as well. So if you want to make it a template that everybody can use, you have to make it a viewable link. If you want to just have a template that's in your particular brand or in your library, you can make a template there as well. And there's lots of other options, which we'll not go into in too much detail, but you'll see if you just click more, there's lots of other options there as well. So I will pause for any questions before we sort of move on to looking at sort of report templates. And I'll just go back to the home page whilst we do that. Don't think I've seen any questions come in, so I will just continue on. So the other, so what we looked at there is we looked at presentation templates, and you'll see there's so many templates there. The other type of template that you might want to see is document templates. So templates for like reports or financial reviews or annual reports. Again, you can just search for these in the template. So if you click on the templates here, and again, you can do the output if you wanted to do the output as a document, and we can do that. Or you can search up here for financial reports or annual reports or whatever type of report you want to do. I'm just going to go financial reports because that's one we looked at search before. And again, you'll see that these are now in sort of A4 size. So they're no longer in the landscape size of our presentation. And again, I'm just hovering my mouse over the particular document, and you'll see that then it gives an overview or a preview of some of the content that's in there. And again, some of the pages are longer, some of them are less, but exactly the same way as we've looked at for the presentations. If you wanted to use that particular template, you can just click on it. You can then customize the template. And again, you've got then other options down here. So let's go ahead with this one. And I'm going to click Customize Template, and that will just open this up as a document for us to then edit. Now, a couple of things, I'm just going to close this Learn window. A couple of things I want to just point out here. You'll see up the top here, we no longer have this Present option. And the reason being is because Express is, because you've not chose like a landscape presentation size, it is automatically making an assumption that you don't want to present this. What you'll want to do is either share it with colleagues or you'll want to download it as a document. So it's making that assumption. So you'll see that the options are slightly different up here because it's seeing it as a document. And you'll see that I'll scroll through, instead of going from side to side, if I scroll down, you can see the different document sections here. So again, it's making that assumption that you want to have this as a document for printout. Now, I get asked this a lot. There aren't any grid lines on Express yet, but you can add in margins and you can add in bleed. So that's just really important that if you are developing for print, if you don't do it in-house and you send it to a printer, I think even in-house prints will require the bleed and crop lines to be added. So you can add them in here, and then when you download as a PDF for print, they'll have those lines in there which your printers will need. So those are really, I find those really handy, especially if I'm developing a document that I ultimately want to have in print. But again, it's the same options here. I can click on the different elements, and again, to the left-hand side, I can see that it opens up as a text file, and I can come in and then make the edits to that file. So I'm just going to change this to an annual report, and then say University of Hopkins. That's not a real university, obviously, but we'll just pretend that's my university. So again, we can come in here and we can change the address. So let's put this to the Edinburgh office address. So this isn't my house address, so please don't come and come find me. So Carlton's Road, Edinburgh, United Kingdom, and then again we're just going to come in here and we're going to change the number. So you'll see that you can then come in here, I'll just delete that, and you can come in here and start to make edits to that document. So again, I'll not go through in too much detail. If you want to go and change some things as we're going through this, please feel free to do so. One thing I did want to point out here is you'll see that this image is very much stylized. So it's got that bit of a triangle aspect to it. It's got a bit of background color. Now, the great thing I love about Express, and this is like amazing, is if I click on this and click replace, I can replace this with either an upload, something from a brand or a library that we have. So we have a library or a brand with assets that we have to use. We can go and just access that directly from within the document. Again, if you're unsure about how to do that, we did a session last month, so check that out. Or we can upload a photo. I'm just going to do this now. And I'm just going to search for photos. Let's do students. I'm just going to maybe select that one. And you'll see what it's done is it's taken the photo and it's automatically scaled it and put it into the same shape. It's a game changer for me because previously it would bring it in as just a square and you'd have to like fiddle about to try and get it into the same section, and it would just take too much time. And so the fact that you can just click on the image, click replace, and it automatically kind of formalizes it and stylize it for you automatically in the same way, I think is phenomenal. And again, if you come in here, you can then start to make changes. Again, do the same. We can just replace this with an image and we can choose a different photo, or we can go and get a photo from our library. You'll also see what it's done here. Can you see that it says number 1 and then number 2? So I'm just going to drag that up and you'll see what it's doing. Probably can't see because it's there. Just move that out of the way. You'll see what it's doing is it's flowing my text. So again, if anybody's built documentation before and not done it in a desktop publishing tool like InDesign and done it in some other sort of format, you're copying and pasting and trying to make it look right. None of that has to happen. You can just do that directly. Again, it's one of my favorite tools. And that text flow is just from here on the left hand side here. And again, if you do that, you can then just load the text into a column section, and then you don't have to worry about having to make that fit. I'm just going to put that back down so that I can put my image back where it was. So really cool stuff, really cool options that we've got from this as well. And again, like before, if we wanted to add more pages, we wanted to add different pages, we can just template, bring extra pages in. Once we're happy with this, just to show you a couple of options, one of the things that you might want to do with your documentations is translate them. So again, I'm not going to spend too much time there in the interest of time, but just to know that there is a translate button here. And what happens is that will then translate all of the pages into the language that you choose. So you can go ahead and choose any of the languages from here, hit translate, and what will happen is we'll keep your English version, or the language you started with, and then it will duplicate every page into the new language. So super cool feature. And again, from colleagues who are multilingual and who have checked this, they said it's actually a pretty good match in terms of tone and translation. So the translation button is there. The other thing I wanted to just dive into before we look at Adobe Stock in the sort of last 10 minutes here is we do have an option around charts and grids, and it's such a great way to just visualize some of our data. I'm just going to go to this page here, and I'm actually just going to take these two sections out. And I've just done that by just selecting it and hitting delete. I want to just show you the charts and grids section because it's such a cool feature in Express. So we've got these grids, and these allow us to do sort of collage photos. Tables, just tables, standard tables that we can insert and then start to add into. But what I wanted to show you is the charts and grids. So I love this part. So there's lots of different types of charts. And the great thing I love about it is once you've done your chart, let's say, for example, we're doing this. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller so we can fit it in. So once we've got our chart here, on the left-hand side, we can then input all of our number values here. Now, I'm asked it a lot, can we have uploads to CSVs? Not at the moment, but you can translate that data and put it in here. So you can have your items, and then you can choose different chart types. So for me, I'm much more visual, and sometimes I do this and I think, oh, it doesn't look right. It's not what I wanted it to look right. The favorite thing that I love is if I just click on this, it takes the data that I've put in, and then I can just bounce around in different design options and then make a decision based on which design element I like the best. And for me, who's quite a visual person, this is just phenomenal because I don't have to come in and re-enter the data every time. It just automatically switches and changes so that as I'm building it, I can then say, actually, no, I want it to make that look, that feels a bit better to me, actually. I want it to be like that. I'll leave it like that. So I love that feature in here. Especially, as I said, for me, who's a bit more visual, I can then come and then make those changes, add in all my data, and then start to decide, like, do I want it to be a donut? Do I want it to be a bar graph? Do I want it to be a line chart? And I can just click, click, click and decide which one looks better based on the story that I'm trying to tell. So I love that feature in Express. Okay. Any questions coming in the chat before we sort of quickly just show you how you can use Adobe Stock to also search for templates? So I'll just pause and see if there's any questions.
Nothing at the moment.
Okay, that's fine. That's awesome. Okay, so in the last sort of 10 minutes, I just want to show you Adobe Stock. Just before I do that, I want to just show you how you can get this document out of Express if you want to send it to print. So again, super easy. The download button is up here on the right-hand corner. I can share. So same as before, if I wanted to share with my colleague and bring Catherine into this, I can do that. And I can ask Catherine to potentially edit it or just comment. So I'll just put just comment and invite Catherine to comment for now. Catherine will be able to come in here. She'll be able to comment, and she'll be able to like drop a pin on certain areas and then make a comment on that and say, you know, do you like this picture? And you'll see if anyone eagle-eyed, Catherine just popped up here, her icon. So I know she's looking at the document right now. And then if you've got your comments, which just open up here, Catherine can comment on that particular document, and you'll see how quickly it is. And she's just commented there as well. And then I get a little notification that that comment's happened as well. So you can really collaborate with your colleagues on a document. Now, once we're happy with the document, as I said, we can download pages or all of them, and we can download PDF standard for documents. We can also download for print. And again, it adds accessibility tags into the document as well. and then you can click download. Now, the next question I always get is accessibility. We are hoping to run a session, I think, later on in this series that's really going to touch on accessibility. And we'll touch on it a little bit more of how you can use Acrobat to assess accessibility on documents. Express does a really good job of showing and allowing for tags on documents, and that's really the main thing about accessibility. But there are other ways that you can validate and check the accessibility using Acrobat. So we'll cover that in a later session, but just to let you know, Express does a good job of like exporting a pretty good accessible document as well.
Just to jump in there, Louise, we have had a question. Someone's asking, how do you input the data when using pie charts? Would you be able to just quickly demonstrate that?
Absolutely. Now, I'm
you.
just going to go back to my graph here where I've got my columns. I'm just going to click View All, and I'm just going to go and select a pie chart now to show you. So if I do this as maybe this one. So if I selected the pie chart, if I click on the chart, again on the left-hand side, I get this opened up. So maybe that's let's do it as I can't remember. Like, let's do my kids swim, so swimming's on my brain always. So swimmer number one. So let's say swimmer one. Let's say we'll do it as a time thing. So let's say they got 50. Swimmer two. Let's say they got 10. Swimmer three. And you can just come in and start to type that in. So can you see it's automatically changing there? Hopefully, Kofo, you can see that. And then you can add in additional items. You can see here that I've got a bit of a, I stretch this out. You'll see I've got a little bit of a key at the bottom, and that's just based on this chart type that I have here. So you can do that and insert all of your data here. So that's how you would do the pie chart. So Bo, you've just asked, can you import data from an Excel file, which can then be turned to the chart? You can't upload from an Excel file, but you'd have to manually type it in here. So hopefully that's helped and answered that question. The other thing I want to just kind of show you as well is you do have elements here as well. So there could be design elements that you maybe want to use for charts. Now, if I just search for charts, within this design element, now these are images, you'll see that you then have these options that open up here. So these are some of the other things that you can potentially utilize and look at if you want to create and add some visuals to your particular presentations. So just to know that there's elements here, there's also the bars and charts if you wanted to be specific. And there's lots of information here. So this just comes in, as an image that you could add in. Any other questions before we move on? Oh, okay. So I'm going download. You just download that PDF. In the last few minutes, I wanted to show you, and in actual fact, it will only take a few minutes because it's that quick and easy to use. I wanted to just also show you Adobe Stock, because this is another place where you can go to get templates. So again, staff members have access to Creative Cloud, and as part of that, you've got access to the Stock interface as well. So Stock does come through into Adobe Express, but the templates you find in Adobe Express are Adobe Express templates. Now, in Adobe Stock, that just widens out for you. So in Adobe Stock, we also have access to templates for InDesign, Illustrator templates, Photoshop templates, MoGarts for Premiere Pro and videos, and lots of other things. So when you come into Adobe Stock, you'll see that there's an option up here that says templates. So if you click on there, that will then just open up all of the different templates that you have access to. And again, I'm just going to type in a financial statement or financial report. And what that will do is, again, it automatically it presumes that you're looking for a document. So you'll see most of these templates are INDT files, which is an InDesign template file. And you'll see that then some of them have been downloaded already by others in my organisation, and then some of them haven't. And I just click download. Again, it's part of your license, doesn't cost anything. And you can then download them. So again, if you scroll down, there's lots of different options here. Now, just so we were all working on the same one, I have got it opened in a separate tab to show you. But you'll see if I sit my mouse on here and then click on it, what you'll be able to do is then have a view. If you click on the eye icon, and then you'll be able to view what that brochure would eventually look like if you added all of your content in. Now, generally, and I'm going to add this one in to the chat. So if you wanted to look at this with me on your own computer, this is one that I found earlier. This is just an annual report. And again, you'll see that if I click on it, it can then shows me what that's going to look like in terms of the spread of pages. And this is an InDesign file, so I've already downloaded it. Now, I want to show you how it opens in InDesign, but then I want to also show you that you can, if you don't feel confident in InDesign, you can actually put this InDesign file into Express, and then you'll have the same easy to use options and tools. Now, of course, it doesn't have grids and it doesn't have the print publishing expert tools that InDesign has, but if you wanted to just take a template and then quickly change it for what you wanted it to do, Express can do that for you. But just to show you in InDesign how this comes through, is it comes through like this. So I've got each of my pages, and again, if you're familiar with InDesign, these are my grid options. I can then start to make edits and changes to these sections as well. And you'll see that it gives me all of my pages. These are obviously a A4, A3 spread, and so on and so forth. And then I would just go ahead and I would start to make edits to this. Now, the same document as an InDesign file can be brought into Express. It will look very similar, and then you can start to make edits to it. Now, if I go back to Express homepage, we had a look at browsing templates. I want to just take you to the other side of that panel, and you'll see that there's an option to start with your content. So I can click on there, and then I can choose that InDesign file. Don't have to make it a PDF, don't have to do anything with it. I've essentially just downloaded it from stock, and now I'm uploading it into Express. That's all I'm doing. And what the Express will do, as you can see here, it's now converting it to an Express file. So it's going through and it's saying that's an image, that's a text, that's A4 size, that's a double spread. So it's working all that out for you. And then you can come in Express, and just as we've gone through already, you can start to make edits to those elements. And again, you can then download it back out as a PDF for print. So you'll see it's just grabbed the same content here, and I can then go and start to make my changes and make my edits. So it's just to show you can use the templates within Express, but you do have option to the more InDesign templates as well on Adobe Stock. And you can either bring them into InDesign if you're confident to do that, or you can take your InDesign file and also drop that into Express and start to make the edits there as well. We are at time, so I am going to stop, see if there's any last questions that anybody has. And if there isn't, I will close just by saying that, as I mentioned, all of our recordings will be up in our YouTube channel, so please access that, bookmark that, pass it to colleagues. At the start of the chat, I put in the professional services webinar registration page. So we'll have one next month. Excuse me, I think the next one's October, but we'll have more. And if you would like to see more topics covered, then please fill in the feedback form, and we'll endeavour to get them done. And Bo, you've just asked a question here. Do we have follow along tutorial video recordings that learners can watch and follow along to create a complete visual impressive? Yeah, we do have lots of different content out there. So we'll, I think Catherine's typing, so she might be sending you some links right now. But that's a really good point. And what we might do actually is add some of those links in the YouTube channel in the comments section so that you've got access to them afterwards as well.